तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to do the dhyanam? Kinisha and Kinita, go ahead.
अतः श्रीमद्भगवद्गीताध्यानं वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्.
Okay, thank you. So today we're going to be doing verses 11 to 20. So we started it in person, and we'll review those verses and then we'll also finish the rest of the verses that we didn't cover, okay? So everyone have their Gitas? Everyone ready? Yes? Okay, good. So flip to chapter 3, verse 11, and we'll get started, okay? अतः श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता तृतीयाध्यायः कर्मयोगः श्रीभगवानुवाच. So I'll read it once, I'll break it apart, and then the third time we do it, we'll do it all together, okay? देवान् भवयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भवत्यन्त श्रेयपरमवाप्स्यथ. देवान् भवयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भवत्यन्त श्रेयपरमवाप्स्यथ. देवान् भवयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भवत्यन्त श्रेयपरमवाप्स्यथ.
Okay, so this is verse 11. So here, as you see, it says, you cherish the devas with yagna, and may the devas in turn bless you with rain and other desired gifts. Thus, mutually cherishing, you shall attain the highest good. So if we go word by word here, right, you see here it says anena, meaning with this. Devan is the devas. And then Bhavayatu is cherish. And they is those. And then Devan, once again, is devas. Va is to. Bhavayantu is may cherish. Parashparam, meaning mutually. Bhavayanta, cherishing. Param is the highest. Streya is good. And Avapsyata is a shall attain to. So it's saying that if you cherish the devas by doing yagna, then in turn the devas will bless you with things such as the rain and other desired gifts. So there is this aspect of mutual cherishing, you to the devas and the devas in return, and in this way you shall attain the highest good. Does that make sense? Yes? Any questions? If not, we can move on. Take turns? Okay. Ishtan Bogan Hivo Deva Dashyante Yagna Bhavita तैर्दतानापराधेभ्यो यो भुङ्क्ते स्तेन एव सः इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवा नश्यन्ते यज्ञभावितः तैर्दतानापराधेभ्यो यो भुङ्क्ते स्तेन एव सः इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवा नश्यन्ते यज्ञभावितः तैर्दतानप्रदायेभ्यो यो भुङ्क्ते स्तेन एव सः.
Okay, so for this verse, the word by word meaning. So Yagna Bhavita means cherished by Yagna. Deva are the Devas. Va to you. Ishtan Bhogan is the desired enjoyments. Dashyante will bestow. He, therefore. Tai, by them. Dattan, gifts given. Debhya, to them. Apradaya, which means without giving. Bhunkte, enjoys. And sthena means thief. So keywords here, when you look at the meaning, is it says that worship by sacrifices the devas will give you the desired objects of enjoyment. They are verily thieves who enjoy their gifts without giving their share in return. So here, Sri Krishna is saying that the idea of work and the idea of worship, it goes both ways. So when you worship and when you do the work that is prescribed to you, you get whatever you deserve in return. So when you worship through sacrifice, the devas will give you whatever desired objects of enjoyment that you want. But the ones that kind of make it from a two-way street to a one-way street, they are the thieves that enjoy their gifts without giving their share in return, meaning they try to take advantage of the gifts that the devas give without putting in any work. So they're not doing the work that is meant for them, and they're basically thieves because they're taking but they're not giving. Okay. So we'll move on to verse 13 then. Yagna Shishtashiно Santo Muchante Sarvakil Vishay Bhunjate Te Tagam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. Yagna Shishtashiно Santo Muchante Sarvakil Vishay Bhunjate Te Tagam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. Yagna Shishtashiно Santo Muchante Sarvakil Vishay Bhunjate Te Tagam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat.
Okay, so if we look at here, it says Yagna Shishta Shina. So those who eat what is left after sacrifice. And then Shanta, virtuous men, and then Sarva Kilvishay, from all sins, Muchante, are released. And it says, so that part would mean those person who eat what is left over after offering a sacrifice, they are released from all sins. And then it says, Yetu, whoever, Atma Karanat, for one's sake only. But Chanti is like to cook. Is it they, those, and Papa is degraded persons. And it's Agham is sin, and Bhunjate is to eat. So this is, but those who cook food for the self alone without sharing it for others, such degraded men eat sin. So do you remember we were talking about in person about feeding each other, of the story about the king who said, who was making everyone wait, and all of a sudden he was like, oh, you guys have to eat in such a way where you cannot eat your hands to eat by yourself, right? And so what was the solution? It was to feed each other. So this kind of ties into the idea of you do not cook food for the self alone, right? You should share it with others. And because if you don't, here it says such degraded men eat sin. Does that make sense? Okay. Next verse. Annad bhavanti bhutani पर्जन्यदन्न संभवः यज्ञद् भवाति पर्जन्यो यज्ञकर्म समुद्भवः अन्नद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यदन्न संभवः यज्ञद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञः कर्म समुद्भवः अन्नद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यदन्न संभवः यज्ञद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञकर्म समुद्भवः.
So in this verse, annat means from food, bhutani, creatures, bhavanti, they are born, parjanyat, from rain, anna sambhava, the origin of food takes place, yagnat, from yagna, parjanya, rain, karma samudbhava is born of karma. So in this verse, it says from food, creatures are born. Food is produced by rain. Rain is born of sacrifice, and sacrifice originates from action. So remember that cycle that we saw on the board that Uncle wrote last week? And it was like, because of this arrow, this happens. So in this case, here it's saying that from food, food energizes like living beings and creatures. So from food, that leads to creatures being born. And then that food is actually produced by rain, because in order to grow, you need rain. Like grow food, or just in general, rain is a must when it comes to survival. So food is produced by rain. And then rain is born of sacrifice. So the yagnas, the work that needs to be put in, that leads to rain. Rain is born of sacrifice, and then that sacrifice originates from action. So it all starts off with action. You need to do whatever work that you need to do, and then from there, it leads to rain. Then from rain, it leads to food, and then from food, it leads to creatures or human beings. Okay? So we'll move on to the next verse. Verse 15. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagne pratishchitam. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagne pratishchitam. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagne pratishchitam.
Okay, so it says karma, meaning acts of sacrifice, brahmodbhavam, meaning originates from the Vedas, and then Brahma, this is like the Vedas, this is akshara samudbhavam, arises from the imperishable being. It says tasmat, thus, sarvagatam, all comprehending, Brahma, in the Vedas is a nityam, eternally, yagne, in sacrifice, and pratishtitam, is established. So it says, works of sacrifice have their authority in the Vedas, right? And the Vedas have been revealed by Supreme Being, and therefore all comprehended Veda is established in sacrifice. That is performance of sacrifice as its fundamental teachings. So if you remember, we did the whole the 5 types of yagnas in person class, and how like a combination of all of them would lead to Brahma Yagna, right? So can someone remind me of what those 5 yagnas were from in person? Anyone? Go ahead, Adda.
The 5 yagnas were Rishi Yagna, Priti Yagna, Bata Yagna, Deha Yagna, or Nri Yagna.
Yes. Those were the 5 we discussed. So, yeah. So I think the verse is pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Any questions? If not, we can move on. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayorindriyaramo mogam partha sajivati. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayorindriyaramo mogam partha sajivati. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayorindriyaramo mogam partha sajivati. Are you guys good? Do you need me to repeat again anything? Okay.
So in this verse, one of the important words I just want to say is, so it says Partha, O son of Pritha. So does anyone know who Pritha is? And Sri Krishna is saying this, referring it to Arjuna. So the hint here is it's someone that's related to Arjuna, and it's a son of Pritha. So who do you guys think Pritha is? Any guesses?
Arjun's dad.
So it's actually Arjuna's mom. So Pandu is Arjuna's dad, right? Pandu, the 5 brothers are called the Pandavas. So Pritha is actually Kunti, Arjuna's mom. That's another name. So, and it's the way that like the name Pritha that Sri Krishna gives to Arjuna is to like establish that like familial connection, because technically Arjuna and Sri Krishna are family. So he calls Arjuna Partha, son of Pritha, as like an endearment, like calling him in like as a like a relative kind of relation. So Pritha is Kunti, and Kunti is Arjuna's mom. Okay? So Partha is O son of Pritha. Evam thus pravartitam, set in motion, chakram, wheel or cycle, na anuvartayati, does not follow, aghayu, living in sin, indriya rama, delighting in the senses, moham jivati, lives in vain. Okay, so it says, vain is the life of that sinful and sense-indulgent person who fails to fulfill his obligations in this cycle of mutual interdependence and service, which the law of sacrifice implies. So it's saying here that a person who is sense-indulgent, they don't do their work, their obligations, because it is a cycle, because it's a cycle of sacrifice and work, and it leads to like the cycle that we talked about before, that leads to the sustenance, like the survival of everyone. If one person doesn't contribute to that, it's not like that world is going to end, but technically it's just harming that person themselves, because they're not fulfilling their obligated duties. And because of that, they're considered sinful and sense indulgent. Okay? So we'll move to verse 17 then. यस्तत्मरातिरेव शद् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टस्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते यस्तत्मरातिरेव शद् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टस्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते यस्तत्मरातिरेव शद् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टस्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते.
Okay, so it says tu, meaning but, and then it says yeah, whichever, manava, man, atma ratireva, delights in the self alone. At, wait, hold up. Atma tripta cha, and is satisfied in the self. It says atmani eva, in the atman alone. Samtushta, is content. Tasya, his karyam, what ought to be done. And the navi does not exist. So when you put this together, it says, but whoever delights in the self and the spirit alone, and is content and satisfied in the self, for such a person there's no obligatory duty to discharge. So if we look at it carefully, it says, like, to put it simply, you could think of it like, for those who are content in within themselves with the Atman, and who are illumined and satisfied in the self, for them there's no duty. So you can think about it this way, that so for those who have given up desires for things such as like external objects, they can be satisfied in the self. And if we think about it, the root of the bondage is actually our material desires, but we'll get into them in the upcoming verses. But yes, so for those who are content in the self alone, they are discharged of this duty. Does that make sense? Okay. नैव तस्या कृतेनार्तो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः नैव तस्या कृतेनार्तो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः नैव तस्या कृतेनार्तो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः.
So in this verse, it's important to understand that when the meaning says he, it's referring to the spirit or the Atman, and then the Atman is part of like Brahma. So it's like talking about the spirit. So that's why it's saying tasya, for him, iha, here in this world, kriteno, by actions done, artha, object, naeva, does not exist at all, akriteno, by what is not done, kaschana, na, there is nothing to come by, asya, for him, sarva bhuteshu, among all created beings, kaschit, any, artha vyapashrayaha, dependence for any object, no, is not. So here it's saying he has no object to gain here in this world by action, nor does he lose anything by abstaining from action. For him, there's no dependence on any created being for any object of his. So first we looked at like the individual person, just like any person and how they're supposed to do the work. Now we're looking at the self, the spirit, and who where he has, if he does work, he doesn't really gain anything from like this world through action, and he doesn't lose anything by not doing action. So for the self, the spirit, the creator, there's no dependence on any of the things that he created. So here later on, Sri Krishna is going to draw that parallel, because remember how like we call like Bhagavan, because like he has like the supreme amount of like the six divine qualities that we had, like the Shat Champati. So it's kind of later on you'll see that Sri Krishna draws that connection between like how we're supposed to do our work, and even though the self or the spirit is kind of like detached from all of this, it's still important for us to do our duty and our work. Okay. We'll go to verse 19 now. Tasmadashakta satatam karyam karma samachara ashakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Tasmadashakta satatam karyam karma samachara ashakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Tasmadashakta satatam karyam karma samachara ashakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha.
Okay, so it says tasmat, therefore, asakta, without attachment, satatam, always, karyam karma, work that has to be done, and samachara, perform. It says therefore perform action always without attachment. And then he says karma works acharan, performing purusha, man, and then param, the supreme, and apnoti, attains to. So putting that together, it says, for by working without attachment, a man attains the supreme. So if we think about it, Sri Krishna doesn't say, like, Sri Krishna is saying that you don't reach the supreme by escaping action, right? You reach the supreme if you do the work properly. You know how we were saying there's a difference between karma and karma yoga? So karma in itself, like working, it can bind you. But if you do it karma yoga, as karma yoga, then it could also be the work that leads you to your liberation. Right? So so once again, remember in chapter 2, we were karmanya vadikaraste. It's like the second part of it is like you do not have um it's not saying that you stop doing work, right? But you do it in the correct manner. So once again, he's explicitly says, Sri Krishna, that therefore perform the action always without attachment. So don't get attached to the fruits of action or the work that you're going to do. Good? Okay. Last verse 20. कर्मणि कर्मण्येवा हि संसिद्धिम् अस्तिता जानकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि कर्मण्येवा हि संसिद्धिम् अस्तिता जानकादयः. लोकसङ्ग्राहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि कर्मण्येव हि संसिद्धिम् अस्तिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्राहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
Okay, so in this verse you see the name Janaka. So does anyone know who Janaka is?
I think Janaka's Sita's adopted father.
So Janaka is Sita's father. He was also the king of Mithila. So in this verse, it's saying that men like Janakadaya, men like Janaka, karmana eva, by work alone, samsiddhim, perfection, asthita, attained, he, verily, loka samgraham, good of society, sampashyan, having in view, kartum, to work, arhasi, you should. So here it's saying men like Janaka verily attain to perfection by work alone. You ought to work for the good of the world, having their example in view. So Janaka, he was the king of Mithila, Sita's father, and he also was very big on like being like a householder yogi. So like he like would run a kingdom, and then he would also be like very spiritual. He would do his work. So here, Sri Krishna is presenting Janaka as an example, saying that see, Janaka, he attained perfection through the work that he was given. He fulfilled his duties. And so he's saying similarly, you ought to work for the good of the world, having their example in view. So keeping these kinds of like role models in mind, it's good to work because you're giving back to the world, you're adding to that cycle, and that's like the main goal, to do the duties that were given to you. Okay. So these are your verses, 11 to 20. I think you guys really like doing slides, so we can put you guys in breakout rooms, and then you guys can come up with slides. Each group will have like 2 verses if we do 5 groups, depending on how many people are here today. And then you guys can come back, and then we'll present what key findings or keywords that you found in the verses, and then your own meaning. So don't use the meaning that's in the Gita. Try to like make a meaning based on like what you understood from it, because that's just going to help you better understand it if you write it your own way. Okay? Okay, how do I like, share computer sound. What does mono and you know what? Let's just do stereo. Okay. Tuning 4.
Alright, I'll share my slides.
Group 4.
Hold on. Okay, now go.
Group 4, verses 17-18. Supurna, Aditi, Kinisha, Kinita, Mayuk, Norit, Kushan, Shanot.
Okay. So for verse 17, we'll have Kinisha and Kinita reading the verse together, and then for the meaning, we'll have, I believe, Mayuk read the meaning.
Yasta atmarati eva sadatma teptadatma eva vachastustas tasya karyam na vidyate.
Now, Mayuk, if you can, just read off the bullets that we wrote down.
If one realizes the self, they are fully content. They are not obligated to their duties for personal gain. Such a person is completed and is spiritually fulfilled. Relatable to you charging your phone. If your phone is on 100%, there is nothing more than for you to gain. If it is on 5%, you look for a charger.
Okay. Moving on to verse 18, we'll have Kushan read verse 18 and Noirit read off the meaning.
Noiva tasya kiten artho nakratan eha kashchana nachasya sarvabhuteshu kashidatta vyapashaya.
Spiritually refilled person has nothing else to gain. Action doesn't lead or loss or gain, such as a person does not face emotions such as fear, depression, and ignorance. Such a person does not agree to this state as a result of outside noise. The community of this state is not dependent on anything or anybody or anything.
And that concludes our slideshow for verses 17 and 18. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good job, guys. So so let's move on to the next team. Okay, team 2.
Okay, I'll screen share. Please let me know if you can see it. Can you guys see? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Hi everyone, we are team 2 and we did chapter 3 verses 13 and 14. So this is the chapter 3 verse 13 and the chanting is going to be done by Sattavik and the verse translation is going to be done by Videsh.
Yagna shanto muchyate sarva kilbisha punjate te tvakwam papa ye vejanti atma karanat.
Those persons who eat what is left after sacrifice are released from all sin. But those who cook food for the self alone without sharing it with others, such degraded men eat sin.
Okay, so now we have the meaning that we think that the verse is about and this is going to be done by Shudipta.
Alright, so in this verse, Sri Krishna basically says that the people who eat food after offering it in a spirit of gratitude and sacrifice are freed from sin, but those who cook and eat only for themselves are in a way living selflessly. So we basically said that Verse 13 explains how when you receive things from life, such as food, opportunities, you shouldn't think of it as like, oh, this is mine and like I earned it. You should like live life with gratitude and with a sharing nature. That then you can live a pure life. And if you live selflessly and only think for yourself, that creates negative karma. So therefore, be grateful, share your blessings and knowledge.
Thank you, Shudipta. Now we'll move on to chapter 3, verse 14, and it's going to be chanted by Ishan, and then the translation is going to be read by Shagnik. Ishan, are you there? Ishan, are you talking? We can't hear you if you are.
I can read it if you want.
Okay. Don't worry, Shagnik. I think you did some parts too. That's fine. I think I can read it as well.
Alright,
That's fine. Yeah, I'll just read it. अन्नाद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यदानसम्भवा यज्ञाद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञकर्म samudbhava. And the translation?
From food, in other words, from reproductive power sustained by food, creatures are born, food is produced by rain, rain is born of sacrifice, and sacrifice originates from action.
Awesome. So now we're on to our last slide and we'll talk about the verse 14 meaning by Bidhushmita.
Verse 14 describes a cycle of nature. From action comes sacrifice, from sacrifice comes rain, from rain there's food, and from food there's creatures. This cycle represents how important it is to fulfill your own duty because everybody has a part in the cycle which maintains life. If somebody does not complete their own duty, then that affects the overall cycle.
And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. So let's see which team will be next. Okay, team 1.
Okay, I'll be sharing the screen. Okay, so now Oishuni will introduce our presentation.
In group 1, verse 11 and 12, we have Adhya, Arshi, Arhoi, Oshani, Titlai, Noeli, Ridhaiti, and Namrita.
Okay, so I'll be doing verse 11 in the meaning. Devan bhavayata nena te deva bhavayantu vaha parashparam bhavatyanta sveya paramavapshata. You cherish the devas with yajna, and may the devas in turn bless you with rain and other desired gifts. Thus, mutually cherishing, you shall attain the highest good.
When one cheers the devils with yanja, they will be blessed and best towards with discharge gift from the devils. Thus, with this continued giving will be blessed with the best oneself could be.
I'll read the verse for verse 12. Ishtan bogan hivo deva dasyante yagna bhavita terdatan apradai bro yo bhuktistena yo bhuktistena evasa. And now Titi will read the meaning.
In this verse, Krishna explains how sacrifice goes both ways. It says that the devas will give you things that you want and need to live, like food and rain, as long as you give something in return. Those who don't give anything in return are considered thieves. It emphasizes how, in order to receive something, you have to sacrifice.
The original meaning is when one self-worships and with sacrifices, they will be granted with the dispersed objects of enjoyment. Those who don't worship or give any sacrifices to the devas are portrayed as thieves, ultimately saying that you need to give in order to receive.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you. I like everyone's sides how they take the meaning like from the Gita and how each of you kind of twist it into your own words because sometimes the language like for the meaning in the Gita sometimes it's kind of hard to understand. So it's good that you guys are like writing it in like your own words so it's just much more easier for you to understand. Okay? Okay, so we have two more teams. So let's see who's going to be going next. And it'll tell us who's going next and then who's going to go last, okay? So let's see. Okay, so team 5, you're going to go next, and then team 3, you're going to go last, okay?
I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
So Orchid is going to do the introduction.
So we are group 5 and we are going to do verses 19 and 20, chapter 3 by Argo and Aditi, Unmesh, Yashnil, and me. Also Riddhi.
Unmesh is going to read verse 19.
तस्मादाशक्तशातातं कार्यं कर्म समाचर अशक्तयचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पुरुषः.
Alright, so the key words are ashakta, which means without attachment, karyam karma, which means work that has to be done, param, which means supreme, and apnoti, which means attains to.
The meaning this verse shows how when you do action, you have to do it without attachment to reach the supreme. This verse is essentially saying to act and live without attachment. It says in the verse before this how when you come into this world, you have nothing to lose or gain technically, and in this verse, Krishna gives an answer by saying to act without attachment.
कर्मण्येव हि संसिद्धिम् अस्मज्जानाकदाय लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यं कर्तुमर्हसि. We will have Orti read the keyword.
So keywords are karmana eva, by work alone, shashidim, perfection, lokasamgraha, good of society, and arhashi, to do what you're supposed to.
Verse 20 meaning. In this verse, Krishna gives an example. He gives the example of how Janaka attained to perfection by doing work for the good of the world and without attachment. So Krishna is saying that we may attain the supreme simply by doing work for good of others. And that's the end.
Okay, thank you. And then now we have team 3, right? Okay, team 3, go ahead. Share your screen and let's see your presentation.
Okay, so I believe Minmuri is supposed to present. So Minmuri, when you present, just let me know, and then we can start.
Can you guys see my screen?
Well, I can see it, so I believe everyone else can. So, okay, so we're group three, by Rimjim, Rinmoy, Abir, Arushi, Bornelli, and Anurag. So you can move on to the next slide. Can you zoom in a bit? Okay, so I'll be chanting the verse, and then I'll review the keywords, and then Abir will say the meaning for the verse. Karma Brahmodbhavan Viti Brahmakshara Samudbhavam Tasmad Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yagni Pratishtitam. So the important words that we came up with, or the important words that we found from the verses is karma, which is action and duty, Brahma, the Vedas, Udbhavam, from, comes from, Akshara, the supreme, Sarvagatam, present everywhere, Yagna, sacrifice, and Pratishtitam, established in. So from those important words, we believe that sacrifice was one of the main words. So Abir, you can now say the meaning.
Okay, the meaning for verse 15 is that the Veda was created and established in sacrifice, and work of sacrifice are approved in the Veda. Therefore, it has performance of sacrifice as its fundamental teach.
Now Mrinmoy is going to be chanting, and then I'll say the keywords again, and then Abir will say the meaning.
Evam pravartitam kakram nanuvartayati haya agaryur indriya armo mogam parta sajivati.
Okay, so the important words are evam, which means thus, chakram, which means cycle, anuvartyati, which is follows, agaryu, which means sinful life, and then jivati, which means lives, mogam, which means in vain, and then indriyarma, which means one who enjoys sense pleasures. So one of the main words that we believe was important is yayu, which means sinful life. And Abir, you can say the meaning now.
The meaning for verse 16 is that someone who basically only does everything for themselves and is not willing to sacrifice is sinful.
So the two main meanings that we came up with from reading both of the verses is that for verse 15, action comes from Vedas, Vedas from God. So do your sacrifice and duty. And then for verse 16, if you don't follow this divine cycle and live selfishly, then if you don't follow this divine cycle and you live selfishly, then life is wasted. So yeah, that's it for our presentation.
Okay, thank you. So everyone's presentations were really good. It's 10:43 right now, but you guys, we'll let you guys go a little early. But before you guys go, remember, um, look over verses 11 to 20, practice the pronunciation. So some of the verses that you guys were reading, some of the words you guys were saying not in the right way. So when you practice, because this is being live streamed, it's on YouTube, just go back to the YouTube video when you're like practicing. So other than I read the verses, so you guys can like compare it and like hear how the verses are supposed to be pronounced, okay? So look over verses 11 to 20, read through the meaning, do your journaling. Don't forget about that. Choose like 3 key verses, write about it, write why you chose it, and all that. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, good job, everyone. Sorry, my nose was like really bothering me, so like I kind of went back, and Oshiri took over. So yeah, and thank you very much for today. And also, I think Oshiri next class might be online as well.
Yeah.
So just so you know, you'll get emails to confirm, but just so if you wanted to look ahead into the week, we will
I
most likely be online as
you
well. Do you want to say something, Yashnu?
nah.
Okay, so yeah, and I think that concludes it for today. And you kind of have an idea of what exams look like and how to like go about the chapters versus, and more so than that, I think it's more about trying to develop your
I
own
didn't even
understanding.
take mine.
It's okay. I think it's more about trying to get an understanding of um, the verses for yourselves and trying to just understand how everything connects together at the end of the day. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Anything else, Oshiri?
No, that's all. So look out for any emails. We'll be continuing, but it'll most likely be online next week.
Oh,
Okay.
concluding prayer.
Oh, yes. So who wants to do concluding prayer today? Let's get someone different. Because we normally have like the same people. If you want to do it, raise your hand. Aditri?
Can you put like the sheet on so
Oh, yeah. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I'll put it up. Okay. Can you see it? Okay. Aditri, go ahead.
the last one, right? Like
Yeah,
Bhumi
concluding
Mangala.
prayer too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bhumi Mangalam, Udaka Mangalam, Agni Mangalam, Vayu Mangalam, Gagna Mangalam, Surya Mangalam, Chandra Mangalam, Deha Mangalam. Mangalam, Sarvamangalam, Bhavatu, Sarvamangalam, Bhavatu. Om Shanti, Hari Om Tat Sat.
Okay, thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
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 Bye, Pranam.
Bye.
Oh my god.
Pranam.
Arohi, wait, what's your name?
Abriti.
Avitri, yes. Oh my god, that's your youngest sister.
Mm-hmm.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Bye.
So cute.
Bye.
Are you guys coming today?
Yeah.
I
Is she?
think I
Is
might.
she?
No, she's
Oh,
I don't know if she's
okay.
coming.
Okay.
I
Well,
have a question.
yes.
So I wasn't here for attendance. So
Hmm?
basically, I wasn't here for attendance, so I didn't do the poll. And then I remembered I didn't do it. I wasn't here for attendance last week too. So
Oh,
I
we
was
did.
wondering.
Yeah,
I
we didn't
wasn't.
take it for a few days, few classes, but with the exam and stuff, so it was kind of all over the place. But I think now that we're more on a more consistent schedule, we'll start it again from this week.
Okay.
But I can write your name down. So all the three, and Aita, did you say you too?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
No
Okay,
worries.
bye. Namaskar. See you today.
Bye.
Bye.